Hey guys, Christian Gradowski. We are doing a fly tying video today to go over what we threw in my bass fishing on a lake fly fishing video. So we have two flies we're gonna have to tie today. One of the flies is just a variation, so there's gonna be two of them. So first is the brush head, and then you add a skull. There's no difference between them. You just add the skull. It just gives it a sink profile compared to a suspending profile. We have two cameras today. We have the GoPro here. We got this camera right here. I'm going to be playing with the focus a little bit on this guy. Bear with me. This is the first one we've ever done. It's a real jank setup. We're trying to get dialed in for you guys, but I wanted to share my knowledge on how to tie these flies. So the first thing you're going to start off with, see if this camera focuses up on it. No. Okay. See if it does it on this. There it is. Fish skull, 10 millimeter articulated shank. That's the first thing going to hop in our vise here. And like always, we are tying on the Renzetti Traveler, best vise there is. Bingo bango. Right here we have 100 Denier Vivus. I use this kind of for everything. White, olive, brown, orange, blue, red, pink, whatever. I like the Vivus stuff. And another thing, like always, we have our Dr. Slick scissors. Super sharp, super mean. You will stab yourself, so be careful. So first step in doing all of this with the deceiver is starting off with your tail. So I think the camera can see that there, but if it can't, there you guys go. So this is just your standard saddle hackle tail. And we are going to pick some two nice equally pairing feathers. Sometimes I will throw 3 in there on these bigger flies, but for bass, they don't tend to rip the tails out as much. So we're just going to find 2 today that I think are a happy little pair. And these guys look like the winning bunch of them all. There we go. So we got 2 pairing right there. A lot of people struggle with how to get these set. So I'm going to go to this camera and kind of walk you through it. So we'll start on your guys' side here. I like to take the feather, the fluff, and leave it because that's going to help you pull it into place. So the first step we're going to do here is we are going to make very loose wraps. We're going to do 3 of them. And as you see, that sits fine, right? Great, that's what we wanted. But once we start to pull it, here, it's going to start to spin and twist. That's where we got to just manipulate the material a little bit. We're going for about 6 to 7 inches on this fly. So I want probably a 2 to 3 inch tail. Maybe a little bit longer. That looks good to me right there. And once I have it right in place like I like it, I'm going to mash it down. I'm going to hold it in place. And look at that. It's stuck perfectly. Wrap that down. I like to get this out of the way, so give it a snip. Grab your reciprocating parallel feather, put that on there, and just give it a couple loose wraps. Give it a pull, match it up to the exact length. They don't need to be the exact position up and down, but lengthwise, I like having the same position. We're going no flash on this fly. I don't seem to love flash as much as other people do. But it's all personal choice. I've caught my biggest fish not on flash, so we're going to keep the flash out of it. Next, go cheap. Keep it cheap. Schlopping feathers. This says black on it. It's obviously white. That's what happens when you have a tying desk that is full of junk. So we're just going to grab a nice feather here. That's a garbage feather. There's a lot of garbage in these. You got to kind of sort through them. That guy looks nice. You don't want one that's too long because when you go too long, you're not going to be able to get the right splay. And we're going to kind of push that back palm of that backwards. We're going to start at the tip. We are going to make 3 to 4 right there, nice and tight in. Give it a nice snip. And then we are going to take our thread, advance it forward, and we are going to palmer this on, making a nice little coating here. If you can't tell, we are doing the exact same pattern I threw in the video, which is the olive and white. Once I get up near the eye of that, we're going to stop it right there, throw it around, go once around. I like to push all my stuff back, go 1, 2 wraps, and then you'll have that stem feather, and I go around that stem feather one more time. And it may not look clean, but wait until we're done. 1, 2. So now that stem is double locked, so if anything gets cut on it or a fish tooth gets in it, it's got less likely it's going to pull out on you. And then we are going to keep our thread, and we're just going to make a nice little bubble here. We want that eye clean. That tail getting kicked is the look we are going for. I am no fancy man. I don't usually glue my stuff unless it's musky. Hand whip fish 1, 2, 3, and pull. Nice. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and pull. Lock. Drop your scissors. And snip. There we go. So that's the start of it right there. So that's going to be the start of our process right there. Next, we are going to grab a... Where'd they go? Whatever. Oh, there they are, hiding on the desk full of stuff. We got the Gamakatsu B10S size 1. There we go. That actually focused really nice. And we're going to start with the size 1 because we are making this a bigger fly. And you will see my size 2 hook. It's not going to be a B10S 1-aught because those get too thick in gauge. The 1 is the highest I will go in gauge for the B10Ss. Then it becomes not usable in the trout world. Yes, I could tie different flies for trout and bass, but why do that when I use the same ones? Just make them both. The trout-ish hooks are great for bass. I've never had an issue sticking them, and they're big enough to where the bass don't fully choke them, and you don't have to worry about much. But then we're going to grab our little secret here, which is, this is where I'm learning. I don't know which one to go to. The Berkley Trilene Big Game 30-pound. This is going to be my connection. Do not use your fancy Dr. Slick scissors. Cut yourself a little section here. We're going to lay that on there. I'm going to go all the way to the point of the hook. Go 1, 2, 3. Leave that nice and loose to start. And then I like to bring that down. And I want to fold over that. And I want that loop, if you guys can see that, just barely off the back. Just kind of resting right there on top. And then we're going to give that 1, 2, 3. Double check. Cool. Now we're going to wrap it in. The reason why I do less wraps to start is then I can gauge if I need to add anything or give it more space. I like to fold back both of mine. Yes, there is no hook on this, so I don't need to be super careful, but they are nice. And if anyone is asking, these are just mini wire cutters. They are the best for fly tying. Get yourself a pair. It'll save you a lot of scissors. Yes, I've used Dr. Slicks on this stuff, and they will eventually wear. Great stuff, but eventually do wear. Next step is your small Palmer chenille here. You can use whatever. You can use Polar chenille by Hairline, the Palmer chenille by Wapsi. You can do all of it. Because why? It doesn't matter. I just like the length of this. You can also use the Polar chenille and wrap it and then cut it down to this length or a little bit longer. It always seems to be with my flies that I never really care when I'm tying them. As long as I get the action out of them, it doesn't seem to matter what chenilles that I use, as long as that chenille is not like the chocolate flash or anything or the game changer stuff, because that's just going to hold a bunch of water and just become a pain in your butt eventually, and it's not going to move the fly as well. We are going to take this chenille all the way up to about there, leaving myself about a pinky nail's worth. My pinky nails are small. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to wrap once around it, make a couple of wraps, and then we're going to go around again, wrap it twice. There we go. Boom. Once we are there, we are going to wrap a thread base up to the eye of the hook. Looks nice and clean. And then we are going to add our next set of schlappen. But this time, we're actually going to go with one of the... Actually, it was a good one out of the gate. Wait, there's two in there. Nope, there's just one. We're out of the gate, got ourselves an olive. The reason why I switch it up here is if I did a olive chenille, then I would do a white head. But because I did the white chenille on this fly and that's what was getting bit, I'm going to go olive collar, head, collar, whatever you want to give it a name. Snip and start wrapping. This one I like to be very on top of each other. I want this to kind of cover. Yes, I could start lower, but I actually like the bulk, and it seems to push this fly a little bit better when you add a bunch of wraps of this schlappen up on this first hook. So as we get moving here, you can see we're coming to the end. The stem is getting thick, but we're going to fight through it and just get a little bit of a wrap of that fluffy stuff. I don't know if it matters, but I always seem to like the look of that fluffy on there. Start. I'm going to go 2 wraps over the stem, fold back, 2 wraps in front. give the stem a snip. There it goes. Now we're just going to lock this in with a bunch of wraps right on top. There we go. And we're going to lock all that down. Bingo. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, cinch, snap. 1, 2, 3, 4, cinch, snap. The snap is me setting that into place. Now, we are done with the back section. Woo, moo, flies. You could throw that, but we're going to add some juice to it. That's where this hook comes in right here. This is the Gamakatsu worm hook, size 2/0. It's ultra thin wire, awesome stuff. I really enjoy this. The only thing that's bad about it that you got to remember is it's got little barbs on it. I'm super careful, but if you're going to buy these and get used to tying on them, please push down the barbs. You will cut your thread and drive your own self absolutely insane. So I like to start all the way up front, work it all the way back. You can see that hook bend, but it's not bending out. It is a awesome, awesome stiff hook. And we're going to go all the way to the barb and stop right there. Give it a snip out the back. And we have something new today. Russ Madden handed me a pack of these last time I saw him. These are the new beads, teardrop beads, whatever you want to call it, by Montana Fly Company. Wow, it's right there on the label. But these are the new teardrop style beads. As you can see, professional sample. Professional. And we are going to go with a red one in here. And we are going to then grab our 30 pound again. Give it a longer snip this time. I like longer. This stuff is $14 for 500 yards. Just buy it, cut it, and don't complain. There we go. And then what we are going to do is we are going to thread that on first like that. And we are going to take a look, because you can tie these both ways, and I like to just always double check that I'm getting the right movement. So I will thread that back in there like so. Take it, make sure I'm getting the wiggle that I want. I like that right there. So then from there, we are going to cinch that down. 1, 2. Look at that. Kind of moved a little bit on me. So we're going to cinch that a little bit more, make that loop a little bit tighter. And there we go. And we're going to work that all the way back. And once we get it back all the way where we want it, double check it one more time. Everything's sitting straight and good. It's kind of kicked up. It's going to ride right. And there we go. So then we go all the way forward. And where I'm going to start my bucktail is where I like to flip over my leaders, or my mono. And the reason why I don't use wire or any of that stuff is the mono kinks less. It lasts a lot longer. It doesn't dry rot as quick. Fluorocarbon tends to get brittle. Fluorocarbon tends to get brittle when you're in the sun a lot, so these flies are sitting out. It should look something like that, guys. So there we are. All right. Once we're here, we're going to repeat the step of the Palmer chenille. Tie that in, work it back. Bingo. And we're going to stop it right where we tied that line in. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we are. Tie that off. Give it a snip. All right. So now we got just the head. And now with mine, I like to do one layer of bucktail and be done with it. A lot of times guys will double stack them or do olive and white, or do an olive and white top and bottom. And that's what we're going to do. I do the top and bottom, one stack, one flare, good to go. So we always start on bottom in my personal preference. You can start on top if you want. It just seems to get messier. So we're going to find myself a nice clump of white, which this bucktail looks like it's on its last leg of life right now because there's not much left on this hide. Give that a snip really low. We're going to brush that out in my trusty trash can. Look at that. Oop, look at that. Good amount. We are going to make sure this lines up so it's just kind of curling over the back of that last hook. Just touching a little bit. That looks good to me there. And we're going to kind of bring that in. This stuff is nice and super hollow because I got it from the base. Give it a yank. Make sure it splays out correctly, which that looks really good to me. 1, 2, 3, 4 working in. And we're going to spin it over. And now we're going to spin it to the side, I should say. We're going to kind of cut away. So what I like to do is grab all my long ones because all the short ones you do not want in there. And send that guy off for a haircut. There we go. Get down low here. Bingo. 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 I like to check it, make sure it's all good, and then I'm going to come back on top of it with 3 wraps like that. Once we're there, I like to adjust it because sometimes your hook moves around. So we're sitting like that. And then we're going to grab our olive. And this olive is not a great olive. I bought it without checking it. Okay, I bought it online. So we're going to try to make this one splay out. It's going to be a little bit harder because it's not as hollow as I would like it to be. But it still works. It'll be fine at the end of the day. But we're going to grab a good healthy chunk here. There we go. And then we're going to tease out all that material. You could brush this. Yeah, brushing would probably help a lot. But I like to just grab it and I like to look at it. And I will start stacking it like I'm doing right here. Trying to get it all nice and equal. That looks pretty good. Probably going to have to add some more. Yep, definitely going to have to add some more. So we're going to set that down. And we're going to come in here, look for some more hollow stuff. It's kind of a battle with this one I bought. I bought it online. It's great for other stuff, great for clousers and things like that. It's not going to splay out a bunch and do a bunch of stuff you don't want for other flies. But for these deceivers, you really want it to kind of push out, make a nice fold. So we're going to just kind of do this. Make it all nice and neat. I think that lines up perfect. That looks perfect to me. Then we are going to equal that from what our white was. Lay that down flat, kind of around. We're going to line that up. Give it a nice cinch. That should do that effect right there. Look at that. Then we're going to go 1. We're going to go 2. 3. Go 4. 5. There we go. So you guys see I have like a big jumbled mess here. What I like to do is I like to scoot it forward. Check what ends I have kind of sticking through. Grab those top ends like that. The good pointy ends, not the blunt ends. Come in here and clip it all off in one. And now that makes it easier to kind of come in here and trim up all the fat that's kind of spun around in a circle or done stuff I don't want it to do. And I like to brush it out. You can see I got some blunt ends right here. Give those guys a snip. Give that guy a snip. And that actually looks really good. And then we're going to finish that up with a bunch of wraps right on the head like that. There we go. Cool. Now, Christian, how do you get this thing to dart, dance, and do all the fun stuff? That's where the brushes come into play. So we're going to go into my little brush box here. And we're going to try to find it. Oh, there's so many. I should have been prepared. Ha ha, played myself. No, where is it? I lost it. Ah, there it is. There we go. We have the olive baitfish blend 1-inch brush right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Does that look good? No? That looks good right there. So now we're going to tie this in. But before we do that, we're going to kind of give it a runway down to this. We don't want to crowd the eye. So we're just going to kind of work this up. And there we go. Go 1, 2, oh, caught some white in there. Don't want to do that. 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're just going to do a bunch in there to kind of hold that back. And we're going to do about 4 wraps of this guy. We're going to go 1. Keep sure we're kind of brushing it. Advance it forward. 2. 3. And then that's kind of like 3.5. And then the 4th is going to kind of come down like that. Spin it around the other finger so it goes around that thread. Go 1, 2. Go around that. Come back around. 1, 2. Do that again. 1, 2. Get your nice little wire cutters. There we go. I got a little point still on mine, and that's why I carry these guys around. Don't know if you guys can see that. These are basically like thin little wire cutters. I have a client that gives me these from his shop. He carries them and gets them for me as a little gift. And then we're going to build the nice head up on this. Like that. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, cinch. 1, 2, 3, cinch. Whoa, lost that one. 1, 2, 3, cinch. 1, 2, 3, cinch. And then we are going to give it a snip. And because this is on the head that's going to take the most beating, it's not covered by much. Little Sally Hansen's. Don't want to put too much on there, so I like to rub it around as I kind of come up from it. Just giving it a little dot, little dabs. We're just locking in those whip finishes. There you guys go. So that's fly number 1. I don't know if this is going to be a 1-part, 2-part, 3-part. I'm kind of filming them all in a row. So I hope you guys enjoyed. There it is on the vise. And that is the first fly that we were fishing on that Scientific Anglers Type 3. If you guys have any questions about this fly, leave them in the comment. So I'm going to move on to the next fly. The next fly might be in another video. Or I'm going to do the skull head and the brush head together in one video. And then I'll do the frog in a separate video. So hope you guys enjoyed that. And let's move on to the next fly.